everybody, and welcome to our second annual Key Club International Global Engagement Rally. My name is Salma El-Deeb, and I'm your Key Club International President for the 2021 to 2020 term. And it is so exciting to see so many of you join us today for a chance to learn and develop as a leader. Together, we hope to celebrate the amazing accomplishments by our club so far and feature volunteers from around the world. We're only a couple of months into our Key Club terms, yet so much has already happened. I would like to welcome back our clubs who were unable to meet last year and thank the clubs who have been able to stick out with us. Since our election at SLC, the International Board has been working hard to ensure a successful year, and we've been putting together many exciting things that you all will be able to hear about throughout this event. And if you want to continue to be on top of all the latest Key Club news, make sure to follow @Key Club International on Instagram. Now, we will hear a quick welcome from the Key Club International Director, Matt Ellis.
Hello, everyone. As Selma said, my name is Matt Ellis, and I am the still fairly new Director of Key Club International. I came on board in June. We have a lot of exciting things coming soon, and some of those you'll be hearing about today. So we're excited about this, and some of them you won't be hearing about today. You'll have to hold on and follow those social media accounts that Selma just mentioned. One thing I do want to make sure that we offer to you is I want to make sure that we invite each and every one of you to join us in Washington, D.C., July 6th through the 10th for our international convention. We are working really hard to make this the best international convention ever, and I can assure you, you are going to have a blast if you come. So that's it. I'm so glad you're here. We're excited about the program we've put together for you today. I hope you enjoy it. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to one of our trustees, Cheyenne Stewart.
Thanks, Matt. I'll now briefly run through the code of conduct for today's event. This is a celebration. Name-calling, bullying, or vulgar language will not be permitted. Any behavior or conduct that is inappropriate, threatening, or offensive should be called out and stopped. Appropriate clothing must always be worn. Avoid disturbing movements in the background. The use of alcohol, tobacco, and drugs is not permitted in virtual meetings. Most importantly, have fun and learn more about Key Club and how you can help your communities. I will now welcome back Key Club International President Salma El-Deeb.
Thank you. It is my honor to introduce our rally's keynote speaker. Cynthia Yue is the 10th UNA USA Youth Observer to the United Nations. She brings nearly 7 years of experience at UNICEF USA, where she has spearheaded national initiatives promoting civic engagement, leadership development, and diversity to over 30,000 supporters. In 2019, she also attended the United Nations General Assembly to interview global leaders on the 30th anniversary of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, culminating in the reinforcement of the European Union's commitment to child welfare and the promotion of the #TheRealChallenge youth advocacy campaign, which amassed over 450 million engagements across more than 50 countries. Previously, she has also served as a fellow for sustainability and youth deliberation initiatives with the Embassy of France in the United States and the Ministry of Tourism of the Republic of Indonesia. In addition, she has interned in the U.S. Senate, U.S. Department of Transportation, and U.S. Small Business Administration. This year, Cynthia hopes to continue bridging the gap between youth and the UN by elevating young people's voices, building community within the UNA USA Youth and Student Network, and supporting youth leaders across the United States. As a former Key Club International member, she previously served as an international member representative for the International Development and Expansion Committee, Lieutenant Governor in the Kentucky-Tennessee District, and President of the Central Magnet School Key Club in Kentucky. Her experiences with Key Club enabled her to develop a strong commitment to community service and volunteer work. Please help me welcome Cynthia Yue.
Right, thank you so much, Selma, and hi everyone. It's so nice to virtually meet all of y'all. So I am actually going to be using transparent slides today. So if you look at my screen right now, you'll be able to see some of my graphics, but I'm just so honored to be here with y'all, especially as a former Key Club member. So thank you to Key Club International for inviting me to speak with y'all. And with that, I'm going to begin. So like Selma said, I am here representing the UNA USA, aka the United Nations Association of the United States of America. And if you would like to keep up with us, you can follow me with my Youth Observer account at US Youth Observer or the UNA USA at UNA USA. Like Selma said, right now I serve as the U.S. Youth Observer to the United Nations. And today I'm going to be talking a little bit about how Key Club built my journey as a leader and volunteer and a devoted volunteer, and some of the work that I've been doing to promote international initiatives to elevate young people across the globe. But before I do that, I want to start with a chat wave to get to know y'all just a little bit better. Now, for those of y'all who aren't aware of what a chat wave is, essentially, I'm going to ask y'all a series of questions. And after every single question, I'm going to count down from 3. So 3, 2, 1. And once I say 1, you are going to put into the chat your answer for that particular question. So like I said, on the count of 3, everybody's going to put in what they have in mind. So let's start with a practice one. Now, I am a big fan of music. Spotify Wrapped just came out, and I was in the top 1% of Taylor Swift's listeners. So I know that Adele, though, also released a brand new album called 30. So Taylor Swift and Adele have been on everyone's minds. So let's start with the practice chat wave question, which is Taylor Swift or Adele? I'll give y'all a moment to put into the chat box what you think. And on the count of 3, you're all going to enter into the chat what you think. I know some people started putting in already, but 3, 2, 1. All right. Looks like everyone's pretty mixed. Somebody put Swifties, all capital letters, Taylor Swift. All right. Well, you know what? We're a little bit split on Taylor Swift or Adele, but one thing's for sure, both of them are insanely talented, influential singers who, they have shaped many of my experiences. So I'm a Swiftie and I'm an Adele fan. All right. So we're going to move on to our next question now. Where are you calling in from? I'll give you a moment to put your answer into the chat. And then on the count of 3, I'm going to ask y'all to put your answers in. So 3, 2, 1. Oh, wow. We have somebody from Canada, Barbados, New York, somebody's from Washington, from all over the world right now. And that is so great to hear because that's one of the things that I love about Key Club International is that it brings young students from everywhere across the globe and it unifies us in the pursuit of service. So thank you for sharing a little bit about yourselves. And now I'm going to ask specifically, which KCI district are you in right now? I myself was in Kentucky, Tennessee. So once again, I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1. Amazing. So we have people from all over. Dublin. Oh, that's so cool. So I see somebody else is from Kentucky, Tennessee. Hello to my fellow Kentucky, Tennessee Key Clubber. It's so great seeing everywhere that y'all are from. So thank you for sharing as well. So next I'm going to move into something a little more topical to what I have a little bit more expertise in, and that is the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So I'm not sure how many of y'all are familiar with the UN SDGs, but just to zoom in on what the SDGs are, they are a list of 17 goals that the UN has set forth as their objectives for 2030. So as you can see, it ranges anywhere from no poverty and partnerships for the goals, which is number 17. And all SDGs are interrelated. For example, to achieve gender equality is also to achieve quality education, which is SDG 4, because as of right now, girls don't have equal access to education. So each sustainable development goal is interrelated, but at the same time, it is also distinct. And like I said, this is a list of everything that the UN has set forth to say that we want to achieve by the year 2030. Now, I want to ask y'all in my next question, looking at this list of SDGs, what is the SDG that you are most passionate about? Which particular one resonates with you the most? And I'll zoom in again so you can take a quick look. And I'm going to count down again. 3, 2, 1. Ooh, a lot of climate action. No poverty, gender equality, clean water, zero hunger, no poverty, good health. Good health is very much so in line with current events given the situation that we've all been in for the past year. Gender equality, amazing. No poverty, clean energy, amazing. So what we can see just from this chat wave is that everybody on this call is passionate about the UN SDGs in some way, shape, or form. And I'm sure that as a Key Clubber, you yourself have done a lot of stuff to achieve some of these sustainable development goals on a local, state, or even national and international level. So then moving on again, what is your favorite organization to volunteer with? I'll give you all a second. I know this is hard because we're all service members. 3, 2, 1. Key Club. There's projects, Kiwanis, a lot of Key Club. It's great to hear. Very topical as well. And then finally, one more question, and then I'm going to move into some of the keynotes that I want to talk about. What is your definition of advocacy? This can be anything from a few words, some synonyms, to some adjectives as well. Because even though we're volunteers, every single time we volunteer, we're advocating for a different cause indirectly. When we volunteer for a homeless shelter, we're advocating for the end of poverty. When we help out our neighbors, we're advocating for a more unified nation. So I'm going to count down from 3, 2, 1 again. So 3, 2, 1. Representation, support, taking action for others, advocating for a cause you care about, leadership, support. Amazing. It is so great to hear that all of y'all are such passionate volunteers and advocates. And so today I want to bounce off of some of the chat wave questions that we've seen today and talk about my journey as a person who's dedicated to service, and also how Key Club shaped many of my formative experiences. So a little bit about me. Like I said, my name is Cynthia Yue, and I am a first-generation American, and so my parents are both from Asia, and they came over in pursuit of the American dream. And I remember growing up witnessing inequity throughout my entire life. I remember hearing the story of my grandfather, who was the oldest of 6 children, and by the time he turned 13, he'd watched as every single one of his younger siblings passed away from preventable causes. And just 2 generations later, my older sister also passed away from preventable causes. So when I think about why I'm passionate about being a volunteer and advocate for the things that I care about, it's about ensuring that what happened to my family never replicates itself again. And it's something that has led me to become a volunteer within my community and abroad. So, as I said before, I got involved with Key Club International when I was in high school, and I learned so many different things as a Key Club member that formulated a lot of my experiences and have shaped me into who I am today. So as you heard in the introduction, I was a lieutenant governor in the Kentucky-Tennessee district. So this is a very vintage photo of me from back when I think exactly 4 years ago, actually, during DCON that we held with the Kentucky-Tennessee district. And I learned how to serve as a leader through Key Club International. I was able to connect with students who were on the other side of the planet. And even though we had so little in common on paper, what we shared was this drive and passion for service and for making tomorrow better than today. We built a commitment to service regardless of where we were at and regardless of what we thought of in a time when our nation was more divided than ever. It didn't matter what we thought. It didn't matter where we came from or who we were with. All what we learned as Key Club members was that we needed to commit ourselves to helping our communities and to helping everyone everywhere. And that's something that I continue to carry with myself today. And of course, I joined a community of changemakers, just like y'all here on this call, even 4 years later. I have seen so many young people who are giving their Saturdays to be on a call and learn how to become more effective leaders to serve as changemakers for the future of our world, really. And of course, I learned how to collaborate with other organizations. Every single year, Trick or Treat for UNICEF was something that we always ran as Key Club members. And being able to collect money for UNICEF and its life-saving work helps me develop a stronger dedication to all of my UNICEF volunteer work as well. So in short, Key Club strengthened everything that I was able to do through giving me opportunities to grow as a leader, a volunteer, and as an advocate, and to build upon relations and to meet other young people who shared these same passions. And using all the stuff that I learned as a Key Club International member, I was able to lead myself into new experiences where I could build upon all the stuff and work that I had done as a Key Club member. So for example, as Selma said, I was a UNICEF Youth Ambassador at the UN General Assembly, and I worked to strengthen the EU's commitment to the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child and to lead youth empowerment initiatives across the nation and across the globe to get young people to advocate for child rights. At the UN General Assembly, I got to do a lot of really cool work and it all centered around elevating young people. And I learned about the power of youth. Young people are some of the most driven people on the planet. We comprise anywhere from 30 to 50% of the population. And that means that we have power in numbers and in influence. We can influence our peers better than any other generation. And that's why it's critical for us to continue the movement and this growing grassroots movement where we're coming together and standing for the causes that we believe in. So now that I've talked a little bit about some of the previous work that Key Club International was able to bring forward, I'm going to talk about my current position as the U.S. Youth Observer. My position is appointed annually by the UNA USA, and I'm sure y'all are all wondering, what in the world is the UNA USA? Well, I'll tell you right now. It is the United Nations Association of the United States of America. And a little bit about the UNA USA is that it is actually older than the United Nations itself. For a little background about the United Nations, it was established after World War II, after our leaders saw that the world had been devastated in unlike any other time period ever from this war that was named as the War to End All Wars. And yet grassroots people from across the nation saw what was happening around the world, and they said that we needed a global organization to be able to prevent future conflicts. And so that is where the United Nations Association found its roots. It started as an organization to advocate for the creation of the United Nations. And after the United Nations was actually established, it evolved into an organization of grassroots leaders who are every single day advocating for the continued funding and support of the United Nations from the United States end, so that we can continue doing all the great work that the UN does on a day-to-day basis. Now, as the U.S. Youth Observer, I've heard a lot from young people, and some people they see the UN as something that they support, and they see the global goals that we showed y'all earlier as something that they want to activate on every single day, but they are not necessarily sure about what the UN itself does. So for a little bit of background on the UN, it's not just this big building in New York where a bunch of politicians come in fancy suits and agree on different things. Every single year, the UN does a bunch of critical actions and impacts that make a difference in communities. Every year, the UN provides food to 80 million people in 80 different countries. The United Nations also provides vaccinations for 45% of the world's children, and they support maternal health by helping more than 1 million women overcome pregnancy risks. And so a fun fact about vaccinations in particular is that UNICEF, which is a branch of the United Nations, is the world's largest purchaser of vaccines. And that means that they bring vaccinations to more children than any organization. And in fact, by purchasing so many vaccines, they bring down the cost of vaccinations for people like us here in the United States. So we see how the United Nations is making an impact in our lives indirectly as well. The UN also assists in bringing 68.5 million refugees who are fleeing from war, famine, and persecution. And they keep the peace with more than 100,000 peacekeepers and 14 operations in 4 continents. So now that you've heard a little bit about the UN, I want to talk about how my work as the 10th U.S. Youth Observer to the United Nations impacts and intersects with the work that y'all are doing as Key Club International members. So I'm elevating change makers just like you for all the great impacts that you do on a day-to-day basis. When I first became the U.S. Youth Observer, I conducted a listening tour where I met with hundreds of U.S. youth from across the United States prior to the UN General Assembly to hear about the things that you were passionate about. That included a tour stop here for Key Club International. So y'all were able to input your ideas into this stop. But during one of these stops, it wasn't all roses and confetti everywhere. Sometimes there were young people who didn't necessarily agree with the United Nations. In fact, there was one tour stop where a person explicitly unmuted his microphone and said that he doesn't support the United Nations and he doesn't agree with what it does. So take a guess. How do you think I reacted? We're going to do another chat wave question. And you can put a guess in the chat box, and on the count of 3, we're going to send it all in as well. 3, 2, 1. Somebody said I went off with them on him. Shock, asking why, cool and collected, surprised, calmly, a lot of big stream of calmly. Somebody said I ignored him, disbelief, debated, reacted calmly. All right, well, some of y'all got it right. When this person said that he did not support the United Nations, everyone who said it calmly and asked him why are correct. I calmly said, hey, I'm so glad that you feel comfortable sharing that with me, and I'd love to hear why. And he gave me a list of explanations on why he wasn't necessarily a supporter of the United Nations. And we ended up having this really great 5 to 10 minute conversation on the mischaracterizations of the UN and the actual work that the UN does to help young people and generations around the world. And in fact, by the end of the conversation, he changed his mind and he left the call as a UN supporter. And so what that shows is that as long as we are having respectful discourse, as long as we were respecting others and being able to talk to them and openly sharing with others, and as long as we're continuing to advocate for the things that we care about, people are going to change. Now, this is a really pulled out, call out example, and obviously not everybody's always going to be able to agree with you. But in general, what I've seen in my 7 years of working as a grassroots youth advocate and youth leader is that people are able to hold these conversations and people care about the world. We might not necessarily always have the same solutions, but everybody hopes that tomorrow is better than today. And sometimes it's a matter of just having that conversation and being respectful with others and opening the door to have that dialogue that is able to change people's minds and bring them in with this larger movement. Essentially, never stop fighting for the future that you want. And speaking of the future that we want, what I heard during my listening tour, including this KCI stop, was that the number one issue that young people told me that they cared about was SDG 13, climate action. And yet when I asked them to name the number one domestic issue that they cared about, they said it was SDG 10, reduced inequalities. This tells me a few things. First, the obvious elephant in the room, which is that people see a global issue as different than national issues, even though oftentimes they intersect. And number two, a lot of people told me that they felt distance from the UN and that they wanted more opportunities to directly be involved with it. So I created a 3-pronged agenda to ensure that young people just like y'all have these connections with global leaders in the UN and beyond. And that consists of youth representation and engagement, opportunities in community building, and diversity and inclusion. So as the U.S. Youth Observer, I represent U.S. youth at the UN and high-level meetings and conferences. So I was able to speak during the 76th UN General Assembly, and I've been able to speak with UN leaders such as the UN Deputy Secretary General and the UN's Secretary General's Envoy on Youth to discuss everything that y'all have told me over time and all the issues that people shared with me during the listening tour. I've also been able to discuss youth priorities during high-level conferences and events. So yesterday and on Thursday, I attended virtually, of course, as you can see right here, the UN General Assembly's, the 14th Minority Conference. Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm like blanking. The 14th Conference on Minority Issues, where I was able to discuss diversity and some of the SDG 10 priorities that y'all had shared with me. And I create year-long programs to elevate youth to understand and connect with the UN. So for example, most recently with the UNA USA, we wrapped up a national case competition challenging young people to create a case on how UNICEF can use innovative technology to help kids through the pandemic. And our finalists got to present to representatives from the United Nations Association, UNICEF, UNICEF USA, and the US Department of State. And it was a great way for young people to directly speak to leaders, and it was an opportunity that young people generally don't get to have on a day-to-day basis. I also have put diversity inclusion at the forefront of my entire agenda as the U.S. Youth Observer. This is a photo of me with my predecessor, Destin, who's on the right, and the U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas Greenfield. On my second day, I hopped onto this call and I told her that as a young person from Tennessee, which is traditionally underrepresented, and as a woman of color who is a first-generation American, I care about elevating diverse voices and ensuring that underrepresented populations have that equal seat to talk about the issues that they care about. And so I have spearheaded all the things that young people told me about reducing inequalities at all these conferences and during conversations with global leaders. And globally, this has looked like founding a diversity block in the UN Youth Delegate Program, where I've been working with the African Union to get more African youth delegates into the UN, and then also working with other UN youth delegates who are already in the program to advocate for diverse interests. I've also discussed during the EU delegation dialogues with European Union leaders to talk about how important it is to continue supporting diverse voices and listening to people from the global South. Domestically, I'm working with the UNA USA to create a racial justice series that's going to launch in 2022, where we're going to connect young people in the US with young people from around the world to discuss shared experiences on racial injustices and what we can do to address them. We're also working on a mental health series that's launching in January, where we're going to compile mental health resources on a localized level so that young people have these resources at hand. And in the summer of 2022, I'm working with the UN Office on Outer Space Affairs, NASA, and the Conrad Challenge to create a space and innovation challenge to get young people excited about the intersection of space innovation and global affairs. And then finally, I'm conducting an Amplify tour as the sequel to the listening tour, where I'm going to be continuing to listen to young people, including Key Club International members, to hear about all the different issues that you're passionate about and what UN leaders can do to continue elevating your voices. So that was a little bit about me, but other than that, I just want to once again say thank you so much for the opportunity to be a keynote speaker. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me here on social media at US Youth Observer. I am always here as a resource to all of y'all, especially as a Key Club International alum. I am really passionate about elevating other young people. So if you ever want to have a conversation or ask more about ways that you can get involved with the UN SDGs, please let me know. But other than that, wishing y'all a wonderful rest of the conference, and I'll hope to see y'all soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. All of your work is truly an inspiration to our many, many Key Club members. It was an honor to have you present to us today. So now I will be moving on to giving instructions about the sessions. The sessions for this workshop block are going to be running for higher office with Key Club International trustee Natasha Shrestha, and the Key Club skills in the real world with Key Club International trustee Ellie Nussbaum and past Key Club governor Paul Palazzolo. The breakout rooms will now open. Please join the room with the title of the workshop you would like to attend. If you're not automatically given the option to join, there should be an icon on the bottom of your screen that says breakout rooms. Please click on that to join the room. If you require assistance to join, please message a co-host with the room you would like to join and we will help. Enjoy.